So, happy 2-year podiversary.
Happy podiversary?
Yeah.
Is it a podiversary or is it anniversary for our podcast?
I like podiversary.
Okay.
You're starting off the podiversary on that note. That's how we want to start it. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to fight.
We're going to fight? Yeah,
okay.
probably.
Apparently. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I wanted to say that because I'm so impressed that we made it 2 years.
I mean, that's an accomplishment for you because you have no patience for anything under any circumstances for any reason.
Yes. So if you guys have been following us at all, you'll see even just in the podcast world, we have not successfully ever stuck with anything. We've tried YouTube, we've tried Instagram, we've tried to do a Facebook page, we've tried a lot of things, and it comes down to my impatience because Tyler does not actually do any of those things. They're all me. So
well, it's also you have a very much a throw spaghetti against the wall approach and hope something sticks.
Yes, but we stuck with this.
Yeah.
And I don't intend on stopping. So I'm actually very proud of us.
You don't have a choice in stopping because I'm going to make you keep doing it.
Which is amazing for you to say because you weren't totally on board year one.
Well, I'm totally on board now.
Yeah, so I got to say thank you to everybody who listens because you guys are the reason that we keep going. And I know that, I mean, at least you're the reason why I'm so motivated to keep going. I think that's the same for Tyler, although he doesn't like to admit that he...
I think it also is the fact that this is the only movies that we really watch together is for the podcast. And I really like movies, and you don't have the attention span to sit down and watch a movie a lot oftentimes, so...
This is crap on Shay Day, huh?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, all right, well...
Happy podiversary.
Yeah, so great. The only other thing I did want to mention before we kind of go into the movie... If you guys don't follow us on Twitter, at Cinematically C is where most of the stuff goes down. And last Thursday, I believe, I tweeted that our podcast episode of 1917 had been uploaded to YouTube and then had been removed as a copyright strike. If you guys don't know, YouTube will copyright strike things that you don't own. And if you get 3 copyright strikes, your whole channel gets shut down.
Right.
So basically we were copyright striked for the name because we had titled it 1917 in parentheses 2019, just like we title all of our podcast episodes. And you guys were amazing. You guys tweeted at YouTube. You guys tweeted at the person who copyright striked us. You guys like blew up my feed that day and I didn't even expect that. I was really just wondering like if that was, you could really copyright a date. I didn't know, but
it's not even a date. It's a year.
Yeah. So anyway, a lot of you guys told me to appeal. I thought about it, but we don't use YouTube that much, and I'm one of those people that, like, I'm afraid to break any rules, so it was kind of like, if I broke a rule, then maybe I should just, like, stay under the radar and hope it goes away kind of thing. But I think you guys were vocal enough or something happened, because as of this morning, the video has been returned to our YouTube channel. There is no claims on it or anything, and I never got an email about it. It's like it never happened. So...
I'm thinking they probably provisionally struck it, listened to it, and saw if that there was nothing there, and then...
I'm thinking you guys blew up Twitter, and you guys helped get it back. So I just wanted to say thank you guys for that. You guys are always kind of super vocal about things like that for us, and that's just amazing, and I can't even say how much I appreciate that. So, anyway. Right.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
And this is Cinematically Correct.
And it was my choice this week, right?
Your choice, but you did me a favor.
Yes. So this week I chose Serendipity for 2 reasons. Obviously, Valentine's Day is Friday. Yes. So we have to do a rom-com because, duh. But then also because you have been talking about this movie since we've gotten together and telling me how much I would hate it. And I don't...
Well, I just figured that it's so aggravating. It's probably one of the most aggravating rom-coms ever made. Yeah. It just gets under your skin somehow.
It does. And, I mean, I couldn't believe that it was a rom-com that you'd seen that I hadn't. Yeah. So, I've been curious. So, anyways, I picked that. But before we do a brief synopsis, you do have a beer that you should probably get into.
I do. This is...
a purple beer.
It's a purple beer. It's Cosmic Distortion. I can speak. Cosmic Distortion. Mighty Squirrel Brewing. It's a double IPA, so I don't expect I'm going to like it.
You liked the last few. Give me a pass here.
That's an oddly appropriate thing on the can that you didn't notice, probably. It says, celebrate mighty moments.
Aww. Well, we're celebrating a mighty moment in 2 years. I like it. So
it's perfect.
Pop that tab. Ooh, that was actually satisfying. That was a nice mighty moment.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not bad. It's not the one I would pick.
I'm sorry. I just want to back that up. You just said a double IPA is not bad. Is that what I heard?
Yeah. It's not really all that.
It actually doesn't smell.
It's fairly
mellow. I was expecting hoppy.
Yeah, I was expecting a miserable Christmas tree beer.
Yeah, well, it's the little moments.
It's the mighty moments. I mean, it's definitely got that flavor to it. It's definitely, you can tell, but it's not overwhelming. Terrible.
Well, good. So maybe you can actually fully drink that one, unlike some of the ones that we do on the podcast.
Oh, some of them are terrible. I would give that a 3.25.
That's actually not bad at all for a double IPA. Like, at all. Actually, that's spectacular for a double IPA. Let's put that there. So yeah, if you guys like IPAs, it might be a little light for you, but if you're someone who kind of isn't super into IPAs but wants to try something new, then this might be a beer you would like.
Oh, I would totally recommend it. It's going to probably be hard to find. I imagine it's probably a very small brewery. It looks like it's out of Waltham, Mass, which is just outside of Boston.
Which is not far from us.
Yeah. It probably is not available elsewhere, but good luck.
Yeah. Okay, so we're 6 minutes in and we haven't gotten into this. So give us that brief synopsis we love so much.
Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
Movie is following two characters, John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale, as they meet randomly at New York City Bloomingdale's department store. They have a wonderful kind of meet-up moment, and then they separate and they go on living their lives, always wondering about that what could have been type circumstance. And it's all about them finding ways back to each other through fate.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, and the whole movie is agonizing moments of near misses or things that are just too big of a coincidence to actually be a real coincidence. It's all contrived. Everything is connected, but nothing ever happens. And just
Tell me how you really feel.
It's a Gordian knot type interconnected thing that doesn't leave you satisfied really till the end.
Did you get that all out? Is it all out of your system? Okay. Yeah. All right, so let's go through the cast a little bit. I don't want to go through too many people because really there's only two characters.
There's
in this
two,
movie,
but there's the best friends, but really that's it.
Yeah.
So
John Cusack plays Jonathan Traeger. He's like your typical dude, like that you would find in a rom-com. There's really nothing special about him. There's nothing.
He's just the average run-of-the-mill guy next door, kind of.
Yeah, and when you find him in the movie, he's in a relationship, but you don't know much about the relationship. He happens upon Kate Beckinsale's character when he's trying to buy gloves for his girlfriend.
Yep.
And then when you meet him in 7 years after they're apart and they're trying to meet each other again, he is engaged and about to be married.
Yep.
But really, they don't give you much. I don't even. They do mention what he does for work, but I don't even remember. That's how unimportant it was.
Yeah, it's kind of miscellaneous things that don't really matter. This is all about the moments of them meeting or near meeting. Right.
But I mean, his friend, we know, worked for obituaries in New York Times because that was important. So
yes, it was.
Anyway, just want to put that out there. Kate Beckinsale plays Sarah Thomas. So she's a hopeless romantic who believes in fate.
To a stupid amount.
She believes that everything happens for a reason and that fate will find a way. But then when you meet her in 7 years, she's become a little jaded. She's not sure if she believes anymore. She's kind of doesn't think it's realistic to believe in that, but then part of her still kind of does. And
it's almost like a junkie that is relapsing at the end of the movie, where she's kind of gotten clean of the whole fate has to decide everything about my life, and then she goes back to New York City and it goes back down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. And when we meet her in the 7 years, she is also engaged to be married, I believe.
She gets engaged in this movie at the beginning to that weird...
She's with a really weird, like,
oboe,
hippy-dippy musician man who's obviously high on himself and just the epitome of the person you don't want to end up with, basically. That's what that is. So then there's Jeremy Piven, who plays Dean Kansky, which is John Cusack's best friend. He's
kind of like the comedic relief for this. He just brings levity to a lot of the scenes. He's the type of best friend that would walk through fire with you. You don't even have to ask. He's there. Just the normal guy friend, like your best friend, like that. That's
yeah. I mean, the funny part about him is he was all for the whole fate thing. Like,
yeah.
No, this is a sign. You need to keep going. And he's like, the sign is that I'm in front of a wedding shop. I need to go get married. And he's like, no, that's not the sign.
Nope.
That's not it. It's not it. he was a definite, like, the best friend you want to have in these situations. You mentioned Bridget Moynihan, who is Haley Buchanan, which is the girl that John Cusack was getting married. You had a little trivia piece about her.
Yes. I know it's going to make everyone miserable, but she was dating or in a relationship with Tom Brady before he married Giselle.
Yes, so I'm glad. I'm sure everyone's so happy that you had to mention
I had
Tom
to tie
Brady.
it back to Tom Brady and the Patriots because that's who I am. I'm wearing a Patriots t-shirt right now.
Yeah, I mean, it had to happen. I know it's not football season, but guys, it doesn't stop. This is my life. I can't find her on the IMDb. Oh, she's here finally. And Molly Shannon plays Eve. She is Sarah's best friend.
Yep.
And she plays a fake hippie-dippy person?
Yes. She plays someone that is very much jaded and taking advantage of those people by making them spend an ungodly sum of money at her store. So it's kind of the polar opposite. It's how your best friend is supposed to be in a lot of ways opposite of you to try to
level you, to ground you.
To level you, ground you. Also, if you were hanging out with the exact same person, it's boring. Like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who wants to hang out with yourself? I mean, I can talk to a mirror.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Exactly. You don't want to actually hang out with someone that's exactly like you. That would be...
No, that sounds like my nightmare.
One last person that we have to mention, and he's only in like 2 scenes in this movie.
You're going to mention Eugene Levy, aren't you?
Eugene Levy, of course.
You are. Of course you are. I mentioned it when I saw his name in the credits.
Yeah.
Or like the opening credits. Just
the extra salesperson at Bloomingdale's.
You cannot come behind this line.
Yep, exactly. And he just... That's good salesmanship, sir. When he makes him buy $700 worth of stuff at Bloomingdale's to get the name.
You need a worker to get in, and I need to reach a sales goal.
That's extortion. No, it's good salesmanship.
But yes, he's amazing. I mean, everybody loves Eugene Levy, so.
Yeah, well, I just had to throw him in because everyone loves Eugene Levy. I mean, come on.
We didn't really mention what other movies these people are in, but I mean, John Cusack was the sweetheart of romantic comedies back in the 80s and 90s. I mean, Say Anything, Grosse Pointe, High Fidelity.
Grosse Pointe Break.
Grosse Pointe Break. There's a billion of them.
And it's also a weird kind of thing because they did have kind of... John Cusack and Jeremy Piven are in a lot of movies together. It's a weird kind of...
Yeah, someone on Twitter kind of tweeted that at us, and I wasn't aware of it, but you said you were.
Well, I wasn't aware of it, but I looked back and I was like, I know all of those movies from the other person. So, yeah. Say Anything, Grosse Pointe Blank, Runaway Jury, The Grifters. There's quite a few of them where they happen to be in it together. I don't know if that's because they're friends or it works out that way, or maybe they have the same agent. I don't know what happened, but they're in a lot of movies.
But maybe we're going to have to watch more John Cusack / Jeremy Piven movies. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that is... Kate Beckinsale, the thing that I can think of her from would be Underworld.
Yep.
My dad was super into that series, so like I know all about it. But other than that, I don't really know her for much. We did watch a very politically charged Funny or Die with her in it, which was quite hilarious, but I don't know if we want to upset our viewers with political views.
No, it's definitely something that we would probably want to keep out of this.
Yes, but if you're curious, you can type in Kate Beckinsale Funny or Die and you can see.
Yeah. Then Jeremy Piven's in a lot of movies. I mean, the rest of them...
Molly Shannon's in a lot of movies.
She's in a lot of movies, but those two are more supporting cast actors for the most part. They're not usually the top billing person.
Right.
So.
Okay. So, for this movie, I mean, the main thing, right, is serendipity, although she kind of defines it weirdly, or fate, right?
Right. So, serendipity or fate, the everything happens for a reason, and we are all basically pawns in an elaborate chessboard where we don't have any free will.
Right. So, she defines serendipity as happy accidents.
Right.
The actual definition of serendipity is the faculty or phenomenon of finding valuable or agreeable things not sought for. So I just want to level set where this discussion is actually going, you know.
Right.
Okay. So I think it's important that we give our views on fate so you can, because I think it colors how we see the movie.
Yes, I think that's fair. I am very much more you have to take things into your own hands and you have to make your own decisions and you have...
So grab life by the balls.
Well, right. You have free will. Make your choice and live with the consequences. Okay. Whereas, I mean, there is a degree of everything happens for a reason, but there is quite a bit of free will in the world where you have the right to make choices.
You have the right to choose? Is that what you were going to say?
You do have the right to make choices or to choose, yes. And it's been proven time and again, historically, that you can make terrible choices. Like, all throughout history, there are people that make great choices, people that make terrible choices. And then you just have to deal with the consequences.
Okay. Obviously, I'm a little bit different on that. Not starkly different. So I believe everything happens for a reason. I think I've been pretty firm on that belief for as long as you've known me anyway.
Yes.
But I think where I vary from her anyways is I do believe that you can make choices, right? So I believe that there are certain things in life that isn't a choice. You know, someone randomly dies, or, you know, you don't get a job that you were vying for that you're perfectly qualified for. All these things that you don't have a choice. There's no option there. Right. That's fate. And I believe that there is this whole kind of framework around you. But then there are also things where you're presented with a choice and you can mess up fate. And right. I think this movie really kind of talks about that. Like the fact that you can mess up fate.
Right. And then fate will mess with you right back in various ways.
You like to take the things I tell you before the podcast and mention them on the podcast.
I know, it's a great strategy. It's a great strategy.
Yeah, it makes you look real smart, except for people already know. So since you stole that, I will say that recently, well, actually last week we mentioned this. So last week on the podcast on 1917, we brought up that there was a mini-series called 11/22/63, starring one of the people in 1917, and I had said I really wanted Tyler to see it because I thought he would love it. Yep. Well, we binge watched it last week. We watched the whole thing. And in that mini-series, one of the big things is that if you mess with the past will mess with you.
Right.
And I think that this is kind of similar to what's happening in this movie, where they're messing with fate and fate is messing back. So an example that I gave of this before the podcast started that now Tyler decided to steal was when they're in the elevator. And she says, if we're fated to meet again, then we're going to have to click the same numbers for the floor and we're going to meet up at the end. And they go into the elevators and they do click the same numbers. But the devil, literally, because there's a little kid dressed as the devil, is in John Cusack's elevator and he clicks all the buttons and they end up having to stop at a floor because somebody wants to get on, and there's all these things happen. So to me, it's like fate saying, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This isn't part of my plan, so I'm not going to work out whatever it is you want me to.
Your plan is going to wind up the same place anyway, but how you get there is entirely up to you.
Right. And at the end of the day, when I do believe that, things happen for a reason and there is a framework around things, but you might take a billion detours along the way. It's not just because you're meant to be with someone is not to say that means you're not going to end up with them when you're 90 years old. So keep playing this game and that could be what happens is all I'm saying.
It's one of those things where sometimes your fate is inescapable. You just don't realize how it's going to happen.
Right.
So,
I mean, that's kind of where I land on it. So for me, there were very infuriating parts of this where she's saying, well, I can't give you my number. I have to put it in a book and I have to go hide it, which you misled me because that was the part you always explained to me. But what you didn't tell me is that she was in a relationship at the time, which changes things because in my view, if you're fated to be with somebody, you're going to meet them at the right time. And if you meet somebody at the wrong time, then there's a reason for that. And so I do think there was a reason that they weren't able to be together at that moment. That wasn't their time.
Well, there was so many coincidences in this movie that just needed to not happen and then just get together and end the movie in 20 minutes and be done with the damn thing. It gets under my skin.
It can't work that way.
Well, it's the whole pick the right number on the elevator. It's the getting the dollar bill at the end of the movie finally. It's the getting the book as the wedding present. It's going to the golf range
that he goes to, that he covers things. He must be like a reporter of some sort because
he was a documentary, or he wanted to be a documentary filmmaker, but he does local news television, I guess. Just so many overwhelming coincidences. The dog that you had mentioned, where fate was trying to push them together.
When the dog is literally wrapping around their legs and pulling them in the direction, and they're just like, oh, how silly.
Yeah. All of that. Yeah. It should have been a 15-minute short film.
Okay, but all right. So I think we've talked about what our opinions are on Fate. But one thing that I think we do this a lot in romantic comedies. One thing that we always do is we overlook things that you wouldn't overlook in real life. So something that is a criticism of this movie is the fact that both of these people are in relationships when they first meet. And the viewer is set up to root for them to be together. But you're rooting for two other people to be heartbroken.
Right. You were rooting for two relationships to end.
Right. And there's... okay, so let me put it... I was going to say there's nothing wrong with either significant other. I take that entirely back. There is something entirely wrong with Sarah's significant other. I'm not sure what that is. He's got a lot of things going on there.
He's very self-absorbed, and he's concerned with his stupid music, which is terrible anyway.
And they're just not a good match.
Right.
They're just not. Now, John Cusack's fiance seemed wonderful. She
seemed fine. She did have a little bit of that came from old money kind of everything has to be my way because my daddy says it is, and all of that. Like, I can't live in this apartment, and...
Okay, well, somebody has an opinion over here.
But it's not nearly as bad as her boyfriend. Not even close. It's not the same. You're comparing apples to oranges.
Okay, that was baiting me. You were baiting me. If you guys didn't know, we met Little Dicky in California, and ever since then, we have been quoting his songs, and that was a bait, and I didn't do it, and I'm very proud of myself. So anyway...
But you still explained what that was, so you still failed.
to get it out. Anyway, but what I was trying to get at with that is, why do you think we're so willing and able to overlook... I wouldn't say cheating. They didn't necessarily cheat, but they emotionally cheated. And, like, rooting for people to break up with their significant others to be with people. Like, would you do that in real life?
Well, I think it's the dynamic of movies where you know that they're supposed to end up together because that's how the movie sets it up.
Right.
So there's some of that guilt and responsibility taken out of it because you know the end. You can guess the ending of this movie.
Right. You know what the writer's intention was.
Whereas you don't get that in real life. So if you were rooting for two people to be together, you don't know that that's the plan. You don't know that that's going to work out.
Right. So
you're actively undermining two other people, right, and hoping that they're miserable because you think this works, and that's...
So what I'm hearing is that in a movie, there is a tangible plan that is actually supposed to happen that you can rely on, where in real life, although we believe that everything happens for a reason, it's really only a belief, and you can't actually rely on that to inform your decisions.
Well, it's more that you don't have all of the same preconceived understanding of the movie that you do in real life, and you can't... It's much harder to make that judgment knowing all of what goes into it in real life.
Yeah, and I think it's also harder in real life because you know there's real actual people that are getting hurt, where in a movie they don't really ever show you that part of it. They don't ever show you the best friend, like not the best friend, the fiance or the boyfriend or whatever, like crying and miserable and whatever. They don't show you that side of things. But in real life, that's a person that happens. You destroy someone's life.
Those things can affect a person for months, if not years, after that. And you get a movie is free of consequence from that. It's always, well, they're supposed to be together. They live happily ever after. To hell with everyone else. Right. They don't matter.
Right. And I mean, I will say that I do believe that if you're in a relationship, you should be in a relationship, and you should never, look around and do all of those things. However, there are certain situations where you're in that a moment or a person or whatever kind of sparks in you the realization that this isn't the right relationship. Maybe, John Cusack wasn't even thinking about it when he was buying the gloves, and then all of a sudden that moment happened and he realized, like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to feel like. That's that moment. Like,
I'm not as happy as I'm supposed to be, or this is what it is supposed to feel like.
Right. And it's easy to judge, and it's easy to say, oh, what a bad person he is for doing that. But I guess you don't know unless you're in that moment and you don't have that feeling. So I'm kind of one of those people that I believe that we can't judge somebody on a choice they make because you don't have the whole picture.
I mean, to be perfectly fair, both of them for this entire movie, before they get back together, are actively still looking for each other, even though they're in relationships and about to get married. He's looking through the books. She is checking all the change that she gets for the dollar bill, even though she's across the country. And it's you had a good thing and you let it go, and this is your life now.
I mean, but also in defense of that, I know, like, I shouldn't be defending these things, and I'm sure people are going to attack me for it, but in defense of that, I don't believe you should ever go into a marriage with loose ends. I believe that if you even have a question or a doubt of another person, that's going to follow you and carry into your marriage, and it could potentially ruin it in the future because of the question of what if. And sometimes those what ifs are nothing, and you'll face them and realize they're nothing, but you need to face them. You have to do that. So I kind of feel like them constantly looking and trying to figure that out, it's just wanting to get closure, getting that book closed so they can move forward. So I don't know. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard. I feel like I'm not against them doing that.
I mean, I guess it is in real life kind of shitty to do that, but in the movie it's part of the plan.
But what would you do if you met this person, this perfect person for you, lost them for years and years, and then you found someone else that you were perfectly happy with, but you still have that person in the back of your mind, like maybe one day?
I don't concern myself with hypotheticals that couldn't be.
Oh, here we go. Oh, it's part of the song, guys. It's part of the song. It's going to follow me for the rest of my life.
I've already found the person I'm meant to be with, so it doesn't matter.
Oh boy. Happy 2 years. This is our life.
Well, it's also Valentine's Day coming up. Happy Valentine's Day, darling.
Oh, you're working on the lack of romance that you have going on in your life?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're just so welcome. Anyway, but so I mean, I guess it's hard. Romantic comedies are always tough for me because I'm a sympathizer. I want to see every side of everything, and I want to feel for everyone in the movie. That's just who I am. So I always struggle with all of these things where most people are just like, who cares? It's fun, whatever. But it's what I do. So anyway, that's what the movie is about. I did want to take like a second to talk about the best friends in this movie because they, I mean, for lack of a better word, I guess, are enablers.
Kind of, yeah. Their only real skin in the game is that they want their friends to be happy because that's what friends do. And they realize that there's something not quite right about who they're with right now. There's something wrong about each one of their current significant others, and they want more for them. And they want them to have that soulmate that is intended for everyone. And you can't not like their characters. They're great. They're great comic relief in this movie. And just, it works.
Yeah. And I mean, I love the fact that they both separately go with their friend to travel around New York to, try to happen upon this other person, and knowing that they're supposed to be with other people, and they both do it. They both also caution and say, like, hey, remember, like, you do have someone at home, and they both do that. But they're still supportive, and they're still 100% there for their friend. It's like, that's the friend I want in life.
You get a friend that goes across country for you, because they both go cross country. They go opposite directions.
Yeah.
They go San Francisco to New York, and New York to San Francisco. And it's just, that's the friend that you need to just, to the mattresses.
That's the ride or die right there.
Yeah, exactly. It's all right. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right.
That's the type of friend I want in my life. So I just, it's one thing I love about rom-coms that I don't feel like we see as much as that awesome best friend. I feel like it's almost like we don't even have those kind of rom-coms anymore. Like those really just like adorable, like just, I don't know. Like I feel like I haven't seen something like that in a while.
I mean, I think that's fair. I think that's entirely fair because it's kind of almost fallen out of fashion in movies these days.
Yeah, can we put it back in fashion? Because I need some like just, you know, the movies where you can just watch and not have your brain going a mile a minute or have like emotional turmoil or horror or all of that. Like I just want like I just want to sit at home, movie. Eat junk food, and just be happy.
You want to feel good about your day. You don't want to be like, oh, I need to go save a bunch of orphans because the world is meaningless and there is no purpose.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, I wrote down designer items in New York City because of, you know, the fact that I'm a reseller and I resell clothing. We've mentioned this a million times, and sometimes I even post items I'm selling on Twitter in case you guys want to buy from us to help support the podcast, since this is all I do for work and I need money.
Shameless self-promotion, but I will allow it. Yeah, there's a lot of fake Prada in this. Prado or Prade.
Yeah.
There's the Eugene Levy's character who works at Bloomingdale's, and he is at the Hermes calendar. Hermes.
Yeah, which we may or may not have found one.
I'm betting it's a fake, but we will.
But it's beautiful and I love it.
I know. And if it's real, then it's actually going to pay all of the bills.
Seriously. But yeah, so I mean, that was kind of fun for me because I wasn't a reseller until a year ago. So it's fun for me to kind of like see that stuff in movies. Yeah. The not fun side of the New York part is that this came out in 2001. So, I mean, if you guys are from America, which I think many of you are.
Even if you're not, you know what a 9/11 is. Yeah. I mean, everyone in the world knows what 9/11 is.
Yeah. So 9/11 happened in, obviously, 2001. And a lot of these scenes were filmed in New York, and because of it, they had to digitally remove the Twin Towers from the
Well, they did all the shooting in advance because it came out in 2001, so they had all of those scenes, and they had to go back in and try to more tastefully get things, because they didn't want to painfully remind everyone of what just had happened.
Right, and they said that John Cusack himself didn't even actually want to promote the movie in New York because he felt like it was distasteful. Yeah. But New York people really wanted them to, and they wanted like the movie stuff to come back, and like they wanted to feel like New York was New York again, and that it wasn't this devastating place. They wanted it back. So
interesting little fun fact about the filming in New York for this movie. Mm-hmm. They put up on the trailers in New York City. Yes, we're filming a movie. It's starring John Cusack and some British actress you've never heard of. I promise you, you wouldn't recognize her. Please don't ask us any questions. We're working, blah, blah, blah. I just found that kind of interesting because it was before she had really made it big in the United States.
Poor Kate Beckinsale.
Right. And now she's a huge name. Like, she's in a lot of movies. I mean, most notably Underworld, but it was kind of a nice, odd thing.
Kind of adorable, yeah.
Serendipity.
Yes, Serendipity.
Also, we are going to that restaurant and getting frozen hot chocolate.
Serendipity 3?
Yeah.
I'm in. I am so in. You sent me a recipe to make it, so why don't we just make it?
We'll do both. We're gonna make our own and then compare it to the actual and see which is better.
Okay, we can do that, and we'll let you guys know which one's better. New York's not that far. The other thing I wanted to mention just real quick is the director of this movie was Peter Chelsom. I didn't recognize a lot of what he's done, but his apparently most famous movie was Hannah Montana. I found that funny. I actually saw Hannah Montana in the theaters because my sister was like 12 or 13 when it came out, and she was super into it, and we had to watch it in like the 3D. Yeah.
No, I'm not ever subjecting myself to that. Even if someone recommends it, it's not ever happening. Ever. I will stop doing the podcast before I do that movie.
Oh boy, here we go. But I wanted to mention it. And then finally, I did want to mention that the movie is going to become a TV series as of August 2019. Superfan Johnny Umansky is writing the Serendipity TV series based on this movie.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyways. Oh, and I just randomly wrote this down, but John Cusack is in Thin Red Line, which was recommended to you last week as a war movie that you must see after we did 1917. So
we have so many more that were added to the list because I asked that question when I posted the podcast.
Why did you ask that question?
Because of that, because I wanted all of these answers. Because I was expecting some of the classics like Saving Private Ryan or...
Which they were there.
Hacksaw Ridge, or We Were Soldiers, Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, all of them, because I've seen a lot of war movies. But no, you guys brought your A game, and thank you. Just thank you all, because I have another year of podcast movies to choose from.
Yeah.
And they're all history war movies, so you did this to yourself.
Yeah, and I guess little known fact that Tyler was the one behind that tweet because it's not usually him. It's usually me.
It's a congratulations. You played yourself.
Yeah, so buckle up. There's going to be a lot of war movies this year.
Yep.
Congrats. But yeah, so anyway, I think somebody has a history minute.
Tyler's History Minute.
What do you want to do?
So I have a few. It's going to be fairly brief. One thing that I wanted to talk about is the average life of the United States dollar.
What?
So in this movie, it's a central plot point because he writes his number on a $5
bill.
It's a $5 bill, and then doesn't see her for more than like 7 years, and then she gets the $5 bill back. What is your guess as to whether or not that is a above average or below average age for a $5 bill?
Below average.
Oh no, it's above average.
Really?
The average life expectancy for a $5 bill is less than 5 years. It's 4.9 years.
Really?
Yes.
So all those grungy bills I get is actually not that old at all?
They're not. And if you go up to 10 and 20, it actually gets shorter. So I think a 10 is like 3 years, 3.7.
What are you people doing with your bills?
20 is like 2.5 or something crazy. It's, yeah. Huh. So they have to keep making a lot of paper dollars, even though no one uses cash anymore, really.
Interesting. Who knew?
So, yeah. The other part of this is that he mentions Cassiopeia in the first meeting.
Her freckles on her arm.
Her freckles on her arm, which does look like Cassiopeia, apparently. I don't know if that's really on her arm or they had to, like, digitally add that. But Cassiopeia was the mother of Andromeda, and she made a boast that she was more beautiful than the sea nymphs, and Poseidon got a little bit pissed at that. He's a bit of a petty dick.
So he's like you.
No, he's worse. And he threw her up in the air and sent her up to the northern hemisphere, where half the year she spends upside down, having to hold onto her throne to not fall out. And she's right next to Andromeda.
That sounds like roller coaster nightmare. Is that what that sounds like when you get stopped at the top and you're upside down?
It's basically that, but even worse because it's outer space. And yeah, Andromeda's the wife of Perseus, who killed another of Poseidon's victims, really. Medusa.
Oh.
So he chopped off her head, and yeah. So that's what I got for that.
We should mention before the trivia geeks come after us that Cassiopeia is also mentioned in John Cusack's other film, The Sure Thing.
And we are in the northern hemisphere, so it's actually directly behind us as we're recording this podcast. Oddly enough, I looked it up and I looked at where it was.
Oh, well. If it was not freezing outside, I would say we should do a little
Yeah, the problem is it's
thing.
covered by the tree in the backyard.
No fun.
But yeah.
But at least we know it's there. So
yeah, it's there. It's right behind us.
Cool.
Yeah, that's really all I got. The only other thing for History Minute is the determinism versus free will, which has been the age-old philosophical debate, which is everything either happens from predetermined circumstances in the past, and you don't actually have any choice in what happens, or you have free will and you can decide what you want. And hate to say it, but the case goes towards determinism, and everything happens because of something else that happened in the past. And you don't actually have free will. Spoilers.
So it's almost more what I believe in than what you do.
Yeah, it's basically we are all mindless drones living in a world that we have no control over.
So, as they say in True Detective, is our programming?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, then.
So that's what I got for the History Minute.
Dark, and I'm glad that we got there. So let's not leave it on a dark note and go into you guys' questions.
Audience asks.
Yeah,
all
audience asks.
Audience asks.
Okay, so Sarah, it was like Magic One. We've talked about her before. She does a movie blog. She said, how did that lightweight cashmere glove make it all the way to the middle of the rink in the snow to land perfectly on John's chest? Do we say serendipity? Is that when we're supposed to say that? Like, is that moment?
That's the only explanation because Major League Pitcher is not going to get it there. I mean, come on. It's not.
No, and it's one of those things you can't do it twice. It's
right. The only way that you could do it is if you rolled it up into a ball so it wasn't floating in the air. But then it's just basically a baseball.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
that's
just unless she like stuffed the glove, maybe like because then like okay, so then
filled it with rocks. Ow! What the hell?
That's not at all what I meant, but like just put some weight to it, then it would fall.
Well, it did fall. It just glided.
But if you put
gently
weight in it,
down.
you could lob it, and it just, you know what I'm saying?
Thank you for hitting me.
You're welcome. I needed to make the noise, so that they knew what I was doing.
Short answer is it's not. It's
movie magic.
Movie magic. That's the only answer, other than Serendipity.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, it felt like it was the time.
It was the right choice. It was the right choice.
Yeah. This one, I mean, you guys didn't really come with great questions. I'm not gonna lie. So do better next week.
Do they ever come with good questions?
Sometimes they come with some great questions. Last week they were pretty good, actually.
Well, yeah, it's a war movie.
You please, guys, if you don't want us to be doing war movies for the rest of our lives, next week come with your A game because it's Tyler's choice and he needs to see like real questions. Anyway, Movie Virgins podcast said, can you please debate the premise of this movie because it is absolutely ridiculous. So, I mean, we did kind of debate the fate and determinism and all of that kind of stuff, but the premise of the movie is that they're going to end up back together, right? Is that...
Well, the premise of the movie is that no matter what happens, there's a plan, and their plan is to wind up together. And no matter how long it takes, no matter what hoops they have to jump through, that's going to happen.
But based on what you just said about determinism, is it really ridiculous?
No, that's actually reality. That's just what is going to happen. There are no choices that you make of your own free will, and your choices are dictated by all previous stimulus, whether it's decisions or other factors that have happened in the past.
I mean, our relationship is a perfect example of that. You try... No, I'm just saying, though. Really, though.
God,
I mean, for years and years...
Stop it.
No, I'm not saying it is a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, for years and years, there were a billion factors that kept us from being together. But at the end, it ended up that we ended up together. Even after dating other people, everything in the world.
You ignoring me for years?
I didn't ignore you for years. You weren't making contact, so I said I'm not going to answer you anymore. So,
all right, yeah.
But I mean, there was a billion things that happened that if it was all about choices, then we would have given up on one another. But I'm just saying, somehow love found a way. So I'm just saying. Anyways, Ryan Terry also said Tyler's favorite movie, but why?
It's not my favorite movie. It's just it's a movie that I find so captivating in the aggravation. It's hard not to remember this movie because it just drives me up the wall with the just stop it, be together for God's sakes. Just this could have been a 10-minute movie.
And it's funny because one of the things Kate Beckinsale said is that when fans come up to her and she asks them what their favorite movie of hers is, if it's a male who comes up to her, 9 times out of 10 they answer Serendipity. And she said, for some reason, even though I've done Underworld, I've done all these things where I'm shooting guns and all this stuff, the guys like Serendipity. And it's funny because I had never even heard of, like, I've heard the word Serendipity, but I knew nothing about the movie until you came into my life. And then on my reselling Instagram, I posted a little poll to find out if people had seen it. Now, if you guys didn't guess, my audience on there is predominantly women. Only 60% of my friends had seen Serendipity. And I looked at the answers of the people who had said yes. All of my male reseller friends were the ones that said yes. It was so weird. I'm like, so this is a male-dominated, liked comedy.
It's just, it registers because it's so memorable in that it drives you insane with just
and
screaming at the TV.
And you guys just like to be driven insane. I mean, that's why you're with women, right?
Well, that is really the only explanation.
You can't say anything. You can't. No way you go with that.
What other explanation is there, really?
I'm just kidding. Anyway, so do we want to go into our reviews?
All right, reviews.
Reviews.
Kind of tanked with the Rotten Tomato film critic score.
Oh yeah, Roger Ebert gave it 1.5 stars.
So on Rotten Tomatoes is at 58%.
Oof.
Which is
brutal. Back
down way lower than a lot of the movies we've done recently. We've been in the 80s, 90s recently. Right. We picked a bunch of good ones. Then the audience score 79%. So a good disparity there, a good change in that.
Yeah.
So I think there's nothing really special about
there's
the
no
filming.
fancy cinematography. There's no, I mean, the soundtrack is actually really good. It's well-known artists.
Yeah.
But it's not like,
There's no gripping panoramic shots or hard to do technical feats or anything like that.
And no Oscar-winning performances.
Right.
None of that. It's just a feel-good
It's a
rom-com.
lighthearted rom-com that will drive you insane because it should have been 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
I will give it an 8.
Okay.
Because it's one of those movies that I love to hate. I love to scream at the...
Like to hate watch it?
Yeah, I like to hate watch and go, what are you doing? Why is this... Why are you not doing what you're supposed to be doing? Just go to this place for the love of God.
I'll go with...
I mean, it's one of those things where you just puts you in a rooting for the characters. They do a very good job of that in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is sometimes absent in a lot of films. So it just, it strikes a chord.
Yeah. So I'm like waffling between a 7.5 and an 8. Like I don't want to do the same score as you, but then like I'm waffling. So I'm somewhere in between there. Because so there's no characters that really like draw me in, right? There's no character that I'm in love with. I love John Cusack. I mean, you can't not like him. He's an amazing actor and plays all the great characters, whatever, but nothing that really draws me in.
Well, there's no backstory. There's no real deeper character.
Yeah, and her character aggravates me. So, and I have never really been a Kate Beckinsale fan for no good reason. It's just nothing draws me to her. And I love the concept of this movie, but because of the way she takes it, it just makes me want to just like snap her little fingers.
Yeah, it makes you crazy. It makes you want to scream at the TV.
Yeah, so it's one of those movies where it's like I enjoy it, it's fun, it's whatever, but like at the same time, like this is not something I would want to be like putting on my silk pajamas and getting relaxed to like have a chill night in because I'm going to get stressed. You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like reconciling with your wife or girlfriend after you've had an argument. Like you're still mad. You're still like, I want to tear your face off kind of but I'm over it. We're going to get back to life as usual.
Right.
It's similar to that. It's similar to...
Yeah. And it's one of those movies I do think that if I watched it a few more times, it would grow on me more.
Right.
So I feel like because I'm a first-time watcher, which I don't know if I mentioned, but because I'm a first-time watcher, it's a little bit lower, but I think it would move up the scale a little bit on a few rewatches. Well,
the good news for you is it's on TV all of the time.
Yeah. So maybe I'll actually stop and watch it. I've heard it's a good film to watch around the holidays.
Yeah.
So...
Well, there's a lot of light snow falling and all of that. So
yeah, and obviously the shopping was Christmas time.
And yeah. So
anyway.
All right. So next week.
Next week is your choice.
Next week is my choice, and I am choosing Best Friend's Wedding.
My Best Friend's Wedding,
which is Julia Roberts. I don't think we've done a Julia Roberts movie.
I'm not sure if we have.
So that's criminal.
Yeah, so it's funny because our choice is a flip-flop. So this week I did a movie that you had seen but I hadn't, and you're doing a movie that I've seen that you haven't.
Right. And then also it was going to be your choice because you wanted to make me watch it, but I chose it ahead of you because I needed a choice.
Yeah, you basically needed a rom-com, let's be honest.
Yeah, I needed some kind of
how many rom-coms do you really have in your arsenal?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, all of them because I've never seen most of them.
Yes. So anyway, that's what we'll be doing next week. So if you guys want to be talking to us outside of the podcast, make sure to follow me on Twitter at CinematicallyC or Tyler on Twitter at BlameTylerCC. Really better to follow me. It's really
all
just,
the way her.
If you want to email us at cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. You can go to Facebook, but we ain't really there. Instagram, again, I have no follow through. So all I'm saying is I'm always on Twitter, so you can find me.
Yes, Twitter is her go-to.
Yes. So thank you to Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music, and we will be back next week with My Best Friend's Wedding.
Thank you for listening.